ahead, intro come in.
Hey, this is Leon Finney on...
Stand back.
Select hours on UVM Radio are furnished by paid programming. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect those of UVM Radio, Urban Broadcast Media, their subsidiaries, or sponsors.
Lisa Madigan did in fact file a consent decree in state court. I believe, and the mayor of the city of Chicago stood with her and said, I want to cooperate and we want to be partners as we reform the Chicago Police Department.
Engaging you in the art of conversation. This is Another Perspective Daily with your host, Dr. Leon Finney.
You up?
Hey, this is Leon Finney, broadcasting live here in the city of Chicago and around the world. We're in our studio at 4100, 4108 South Martin Luther King Drive. My friends, it is always a pleasure to be with you on these Monday mornings. Some used to call this Monday or any Monday Blue Monday, just because you had to go back to work and it's kind of sad. But anyway, I'm always happy. And I enjoy being involved with you in our broadcast. So here's the deal. We've got a number of things we're going to talk about today. Okay, the Bears lost. Oh, they lost to New Orleans 28-12. I'm not sure I'm going to spend a whole lot of my time on that. The Bears just plain out lost. And of course, we've got the Black Renaissance. We're going to talk about that. And it's about the HBCUs see a record growth in 2017. Take that, Mr. President. Black folk are on the move. We're going to come back to that. And then, of course, we're going to talk about CPS making extra effort to get kids in AP Pro courses at 6 high schools. Major effort. And, of course, we're going to talk about a sad situation. One of the members of the Donald Trump's campaign has been indicted by the federal government. We're going to talk more and more about that. And I always say, whenever people get indicted, I'm not happy about indictments, but it's a matter of fact, and it's going to have to be dealt with. But anyway, we're going to cover all of these subjects today and a little bit more. A little sad effect about Hadiya. You know, there's a young girl that had visited Mr. Obama in the White House. She got killed, lost her life here in Bronzeville. So we have to deal with a rise in violence over there at the King High School. So we'll be talking about that. And of course, let me come back to what I think is the major portion that I want to address, and that is Black Renaissance. This is a happy story. And the HBCUs, that's the historic black colleges and universities across the country, are experiencing record-breaking incoming class and transfer numbers. The question is, why did this happen? And how can we keep the party going? The negative narrative on HBCUs has been stuck the negative narrative on HBCUs has been stuck on repeat for almost 40 years. The schools peaked in 1970, but integration into predominantly white institutions, federal funding discrimination, financial mismanagement, and administration that made the DMV look efficient plagued what were once the crown jewels of black academia and culture. So my friends, is this. It's always hard to read what somebody else wrote for you, right? So I'm going to give that up. The question is that there have been many efforts that have been involved, or we've tried to dealing with the HBCUs. But the real issue was integration. And I know that we all celebrated the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and that was great to celebrate it, because that meant that there was an end to legalized segregation. But the price that we paid at the level of the historic black colleges was that when blacks were able to integrate white schools, they left the historic black colleges. Now blacks have gotten sane and said, hey, look, no such as us running the white schools. We better make sure that we go and enroll in our black schools. And that's a rise in black awareness right now. Black folk are saying, hey, look, we are up against the wall. And especially the more that we see the white supremacists getting back in public, black folk are saying, hey, look, wait a minute. It's time for us to re-engage and to take care of and preserve our black families, our black businesses, and our black institutions. Now, I'm going to have to take a short break, and when I come back, I'm going to get involved with this a little bit more. Stay with us.
came out at 56, this clock is a minute faster.
So
56.
56 for this one?
Yep, on that one.
Black Power Hour with Bertina Power, weekdays at noon on YourTube Radio.
Okay, bringing them back.
Hey, this is Leon Finney. I'm back, and I'm going to lay on this black renaissance at the historic black colleges and universities. Guess what? North Carolina, A&T, the largest HBCU in America, posted a record-breaking incoming class of 2,300 students this last fall, giving A&T its largest student population ever. Kentucky State saw a 162% increase in its freshman class from summer to fall registration. Spelman College saw first-time applicants jump from just over 5,000 in 2015 to over 8,000 in 2017. Hey, that's a huge jump and a huge increase. But why? Guess what? Tiffany Nelson, director of admission at Spelman College in Atlanta, said the root is they want to be on a campus where they are valued. They want to be on a campus where they are valued. She notes that the whole attitude towards HBCUs has been changing among high school students who are making college choices. A decade ago, they weren't making those choices, but guess what? Right now, the black students and African American students that are coming out of high school are making the right choice. I want to celebrate that. Now, that does not mean I denigrate other colleges and universities, but I think it's time for us to lift up our own colleges, lift up our own universities. And it's not because we want to put anybody down, but we're going to make sure that we continue to lift up African Americans who have historically in the United States of America been marginalized. And guess what? Charlottesville reminded us that black folk are still being marginalized, and now you're finding a black uprising at the college level. Hey, I like it. I'm going to keep on rolling. I'm going to keep on pushing. Guess what? We've got now an extra push for children or kids going into 6 high schools. Chicago Public Schools on Thursday announced 6 schools that would be getting folks help in getting more kids into advanced placement classes. That's the advanced placement classes. And my friends, that's very important for us to understand because we want to get our kids into advanced placement classes. But guess what? My engineer just told me I got to sit down and come off of the air. Am I right?
You good,
Oh,
you keep on.
well, you better make it. Hey, man, get the sign right then. Don't hold no sign up there I can't read. But anyway, my point is that we want to make sure that we get into Chicago agricultural, advanced placement. We want to get Curie advanced placement, King advanced placement, Lakeview advanced placement, and Mather advanced placement. Morgan Park High Schools will all work with equal opportunity schools to figure out how to get more kids into the right advanced placement, right in the advanced placement classes. Now, what is that saying? Let me unpack that for you. If we can get advanced placement, guess what? We mean we leave high school a little earlier, and we get into classes that are going to help us move into college earlier. It also means that we can graduate earlier and we can join the workforce earlier. Those are things that are very, very important, especially when you consider that African Americans tend, more often than not, to be the last hire and the first fire. Nothing has changed, and we've got to work to make sure that we change that. Anyway, we're going to have to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be dealing with the final subject. Thank you so much. How many more minutes do I have?
You got
5?
Yeah.
Y'all need to get together on your signal. He's giving a signal, you giving a signal, and she's giving a signal. Coordinate.
All right, so.
I'm gonna give them the signal, they'll give you the signal. So don't look at the sign, I'll give them the signal.
Okay.
No, I'm still in the studio. He's on break right now. All right, guys.
I'm gonna get a signal. Okay. Because you gotta get used to it. Okay, and you gotta.
I emailed it to you.
Okay, you get ready to come back.
Cinderella at urbanbroadcastmedia.org.
You up, Doc?
Hey, 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 we're back for the final leg on this Monday morning. Not quite 12 o'clock, and we're driving towards 12 o'clock, at which time I'm going to have to ease away. But anyway, President Donald Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, and a former business associate, Rick Gates, were indicted Monday on charges of conspiracy against the United States of America for laundering money and several other financial charges. The charges were first stemming from special counsel Robert Mueller's probe into possible ties between Mr. Trump's presidential campaign and Russia. This is a continuing expansion of the Russian investigation and the allegations that Russia did, in fact, engage actively in trying to manipulate the presidential election between Mr. Trump and Ms. Clinton. But guess what? That investigation now has spilled over into something else. And now two of Mr. Trump's associates, one his former campaign manager, have been indicted by the federal government for laundering millions of dollars. $18 million have been laundered by this particular Mr. Manafort. Now you may say that this it has not hit Mr. Trump, and let's pray that it doesn't hit Mr. Trump. I don't want to see any president of the United States of America indicted. I don't want to see or relish seeing any president of the United States of America impeached. Why? Because it does not help America be great again. But at the end of the day, we've got to make sure that justice is served, and if these men are found to be guilty, they have to serve their time and pay their debt to society. And for one, Mr. Manford, he could end up being in jail for 25 years. That's a long time for $18 million of indictment. But anyhow, my friends, this has been wonderful, a wonderful day. It's a wonderful Monday. I don't want to necessarily end on a sour note. I started on a sour note, and that was the Bears having lost, but I want to deal with a high note, and let's make sure that our HBCUs get everything that we can get them. Let's make sure that you write checks to the HBCUs, donate to them, and make sure that they have the programs that are healthy and viable for our young African American students and white students and brown students. Guess what? HBCUs do not discriminate on the basis of race. If you're white, you can join and go to an HBCU too. And if you're brown, you can go to an HBCU. The point is, we want to make sure that we encourage the health and vitality and viability of the historic black colleges. My friends, this has been Leon Finney, your host on Another Perspective. I'm all for historic black colleges, and you can run and tell that.
All right.